Hello, and welcome to this episode of Comms Business Live, where we'll be looking at how you can unlock growth through cloud and security solutions. I'm Charlotte, editor of Comms Business, and I'm delighted to be joined by Ashley Butcher, who is Director of Strategic Partners for Cloud and Security at PXC. Welcome to the show, Ash.
Thank you, Charlotte.
So, as a starting point, maybe let's just chat through how the landscape is changing. So, what are you seeing in the telco and IT market?
I think it is no secret that there is a converge of the telco and IT markets across the industry. You can see that from the kind of the refinancing deals and the emphasis on strategic product sets and future proofing. You can see it from the acquisitions that people are making. So it's no secret, there's kind of the sizable mid-tier resellers are buying sort of smaller pockets of potentially Microsoft resellers just to bolster their, where typically in the past they were heavy, into connectivity and voice, really successful service providers in that market 10 years ago. They're now buying these companies to bolster their skill sets in these worlds. And it's everywhere. I think you think 10 years ago, it was probably the convergence of voice and data. So it was really important for resellers in that voice market to get their heads around data and make sure they were kind of at the forefront of the Ethernet market when that, grew and all the different connectivity parts now. Obviously, that's sort of grown again into the altnet community and beyond. But it's definitely the hot topic of these merging of industries and how they kind of capitalize on the customer needs, really. We're definitely seeing service providers branch into the cloud market, as I've already said. You're also seeing it the other way, though. MSPs really trying to bolster how do they make the most of the connectivity sale, because they are really good at solution sell, and they have a team built around that, but they don't necessarily have the core skills to kind of grow that basic connectivity business, of which they often do have in their base. They just don't have necessarily the skill sets. So we're seeing that everywhere.
And as you said, at least this isn't a fully new concept for some of these companies. They've gone through different convergence in the past. It's just another thing to tackle.
Yeah, it's they're constantly pivoting. I think that's business, right? And that's definitely technology business, and particularly in our markets of telco. I think you have to pivot or exit. Which is what we see is the people are in different stages, right? And what I find really interesting is the kind of the PE market. Lots of people are overcycle. Lots of people are kind of trying. It's no secret that the market's fairly tough right now. But there's lots of opportunity for our partners across our industry if they leverage these kind of newer products and services to kind of make the most of the customer base that they've had for a long time. But I think it's pivoting and change. That's part of what's exciting, I think, about the industry we're in, particularly that technology world. It's just how do you capitalize on that? That's the most successful ones are the ones that do it well, and how do you kind of spread your risk, but also your opportunity across your customer base, I think.
Absolutely. And I guess the good news is that these channel partners don't need to go it alone. And so how is PXC supporting resellers to succeed amidst this change?
Look, I think we're super laser focused. I mean, we're a whole, we only service our partner community. We're 100% wholesale, right? We've done that for a long time. We're really there's three key things that three key strategic pillars that we stand behind to support our partners. And that is kind of our network, our core network, which is built for scale and choice, with these altnets that have come into play. It's industry leading access, via the portals and the APIs, which we've now fully launched and they're ready for access. And our partners are either placing, lots of orders through, or they're vigorously building into them. And it's these future ready products. So it's picking the right vendor partnerships, the right kind of new markets for our partners and helping them through that. So we have kind of teams set up to sort of support our partners with that, to kind of advise on that change process. I think some of the products and services we have provide a nice platform, sort of end-to-end platform such as Acronis for the kind of backups services. So if our partner's starting out, it gives them a nice platform to kind of pick and choose what they can take to market and kind of build off the back of that. I think that's kind of that's particularly my job here as I've come back to PXC, is really helping our partners on that journey, knowing that in the future they might make some smaller acquisitions, they might branch into other areas, and hopefully we can help them with a few of those. But as they expand, that's how the business expands, right? And so we're here to help that. We've got lots of dedicated specialists, that's part of my personal team, to help them with that journey, and to really kind of, we're not trying to do everything, sell everything to everyone. We're really picking the right vendor partnerships and kind of focusing on that with our partners, trying to add that detail and support, that dedication that I think they'll probably need, rather than access to 1,000 licenses and they have no idea how to utilize it. So
and as resellers are adding on these kind of new services, new solutions, I guess inevitably they are shifting, and they're all part of this shift towards the MSP era, and kind of that alongside with the converged market. What kind of opportunities are there in that new environment?
Look, I mean, the shift is so important, I think, to survive. I think the opportunities are, lots of our partners already have, to thousands of end customers out there that they've serviced for a long time. I think, historically, new conversations may have been had around security, and it's a hot topic in the market. There's lots of things like M&S and others, in the press. It's everywhere. So there's conversations, so the customers are starting to ask people about it. And then, typically, maybe the cloud conversation would come up, but they may not get into that. They just focus on the networking, focus on what they know best. So I think if you open that door and you have the ability to have a conversation about those products, it effectively brings in extra revenue streams for customers that you already have relationships with. And I think it's all driven, mentioned the financing before, right? The finance people will have a view of how they want your business to look in order to get the most out of it, right? And you can't shy away from that. But the only reason they're really interested in it is because the customers are really interested in it. It starts with the customer, because if the customers are interested in it, and if you nail that, then obviously your business is going to grow. And the customers are, the feeling across the industry is they're starting to ask for more things from their suppliers. So they're starting to say, right, we've done this for a long time. What about this? We want to buy these from you. Can you look after our cloud environment? Can you provide our backup services? These things, our DDoS, other security arrangements. These are things that, our partners have the ability to productize now, and often a lot of them already have. And the deeper you can go into that, then the more opportunity you effectively unlock from your existing base. And I think, acquiring new customers is difficult sometimes. It's costly. It can be costly. I think you do have to do that. There's a balance, but it's about trying to get the right balance to leverage your existing base, I think, as well. And these new products and services can do that.
Absolutely. And if it's the way customer demands are evolving, these guys need to be able to meet what customers are going to be demanding of them more and more. So you've obviously been working with some partners that have already gone after the opportunities that this changed market presents. So kind of what results are you seeing from those partners that have kind of made that early jump to kind of broaden their solution set?
Look, I think there's some of our most successful partners have probably started to pivot a long time ago. They've made lots of acquisitive acquisitions that were kind of in areas that expand their skill set. And I think before I get into how we've helped them from a PXC perspective, I think they were already on the train. They bought these businesses in a smart way, so they understood that they needed to expand their capability that way. They also bolstered internally. So what they did internally was kind of build skill sets in certain areas, because I think it's a balance. I don't think you can do that from day one. It costs too much to kind of scale brand new teams to deal with brand new product ranges you're not sure, that you're not sure may be successful, right? So you need to test the water, and there's a balance. But I think they acquired well, they bolstered internally, and then it was the partnerships. So it's building certain partnerships in certain areas, and those three things on balance help them kind of achieve what they achieved. And they kind of, they're probably the last transaction, just this one example I'm thinking of, was probably the most successful transaction in a long time. And there's a reason for that, all those things, that led to organic growth, and that kind of spread across multiple products. And I think a really good example of how we support that customer was via one of our products, DDoS, using the NetScout platform for a kind of really high profile end customer sporting partnership for a kind of global competition. And we were the provider of high capacity services, DDoS as a kind of, that the nice thing about that, those sorts of things are it's complementary to the connectivity, which again is one of our pillars, kind of future-proof product sets. And it went really successfully, and they're now kind of launching that across their base. And in that particular end customer is interested in kind of the whole range of secure sporting events they have throughout the year and beyond. And it's just a way, it's one solution and one way into a customer where they might be able to sell 3, 4, 5 more services to expand that revenue. And that's just one particular example. There are other examples as well, where there's obviously the big players in the hyperscaler market, such as Microsoft and AWS. Now, there are other ways in which our partners can kind of utilize value there. And one example is our kind of flagship cloud product, OneCloud, where it's a genuine alternative to the Azure platform. It provides a cost-effective way for our partners to kind of sell to their customers the server storage and their workload storage and other things. Whereas, certain things might be best to be modernized via Azure, we get that. But there are other things, because of the cost advantage, and it's fixed, and it's, you can plan ahead with that our partners will do well with that. And it's one of our fastest growing cloud lines. So I think there's a range of products and services out there. And there's just a couple of examples, I think, of how we've seen them kind of really be successful in our partner community at the moment.
And as you've mentioned there, those kind of products prove themselves once they're out being used by the customer base. They will deliver what it says on the tin.
Yeah, and I think case studies are key. So, the thing is, they're really exciting case studies. It's kind of new, it's exciting. It's a hot topic in the market, particularly like the security. There's lots of breaches left, right, and center, and I think it's probably this moment in time we're seeing more breaches than ever. And more attempts. I think the scariest thing is it's more attempts than ever. So it's not just the breaches you hear about in the news, it is the tens of thousands of attempts every single day. And that, if you look at the legislation from the government, that's starting to whittle down. It's not just the enterprise, it's not the sizable. That obligation is now moving into the mid-market and the SMB space. So it's really important that our partners leverage that kind of change in regulation to kind of offer products and services, which obviously bolsters their revenue streams, but it also secures their customers.
Definitely. And you're exactly right. Those attacks that make the headlines are the tip of the iceberg. They're just the ones that have managed to get through. There's all these other attempts that are being stopped in their tracks, and the technology is doing what it needs to be doing.
Yeah, and I don't think it's those high profile events. It's not a time to pivot and spin, potentially, as my view, to pivot your marketing and really sort of jump on that bandwagon, because lots of people do. I'm not sure that's really successful. I think the best way is to ensure you have the right product sets in place to talk to your customers about, reference those things. I'm sure they'll already ask about it anyway, because they'll already be consciously aware that they need to be careful. So it's just having the right product sets and the partnerships in place. I think partnerships are super important. I mean, clearly I would say that as a 100% wholesale business, but I've done that for my whole life. I've always been in partners. And I think that it's particularly now at the change of pace of technology is so fast that it is impossible for you to service everything in-house partnerships in this changing era are super important. The right partnerships, the right vendors, the right kind of solution setups. I think that's how you, in the next 5 years, you get yourself into the right position to kind of really capitalize on that change in the market.
Absolutely. And talking about partnerships, if anyone watching wants to find out some more, what should those kind of partners or prospects do as next steps?
Look, I think if you know, lots of people already know us. I think, I urge you to reach out to those that whether that's account managers, heads, myself and Paul Smith, as you probably know really well already. He's been in the market a long time. They can also reach out to our website. Lots of our products and services are on pxc.co.uk. There is kind of a little blue button in there somewhere that says ready to level up as part of our new marketing campaign. So that links to a contact us form that we can, and obviously someone will get back to you if you're brand new. But look, I think we're as PXC we've got a laser focused strategy to kind of help our partners on this journey. We've got the robust platforms and the network to support this sort of next phase, and all these extra sort of products and services is over to the top services. We're really sort of well placed to help our partners achieve more.
Lovely. So that does bring us to the end of today's episode of Comms Business Live. Thanks, Ash, for sharing your thoughts with us.
No worries. Thanks, Charlotte.
And if anyone watching wants to follow up with Ash and the PXC team, there are some links in the video description to connect you with the right people. But otherwise, thanks for joining us and goodbye.